Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who is helping me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Leah Ellis, who has a unique talent of working with younger age people, children specifically, to help them develop talents of financial discipline that can lead to developing a business, being an entrepreneur. And it's very interesting discussing with her that her daughter at 4 years old started a business and others have done the same. She has developed the talent to work with younger people to help them develop and understand what their strengths are and to help them develop into an entrepreneur. Marty, it's a great opportunity that she has working with children. I just applaud her and her husband for working with children to help them develop this discipline to become an entrepreneur. What are some takeaways our listeners can gain from Leah?
Leah also works with autistic child, and a beautiful way of helping that child find their sweet spot and get them to a point where they feel comfortable out there selling, proud of themselves, and she just has a great spirit about her and such knowledge as to how you help these children.
Leah has a great opportunity for each of us to learn through her. Let's listen and learn together. Leah, it's great to have you with us. You have what would, for some people, might seem to be a unique opportunity for our listeners. You help children develop entrepreneurial talents early in age. You apparently can identify those that have the ability to perhaps a little bit later in life be a business owner, be financially responsible, and so forth. And I thought that is a great talent we can pass on to younger kids. There are seemingly, from my perception, a fair number of people who are living life out of balance and they are uncertain how to start a business and so forth. But Leah, Marty, I, and our listeners are going to be very interested in learning from you. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here and talk about the kids that I work with and how amazing they all are.
Now, do you hand select? Are you working with those that are just exceptionally talented?
No, I tell parents all the time, our program is for kids 6 through 17. As long as your kid can add and subtract within 20, I can teach them how to run a business.
Wow. Now, any type business, or is it just a particular type?
whatever they want to do. So we have kids who sell lemonade, we have kids who run subscription services, kids who sell art, 3D prints, cookies, you name it. I probably know a kid who sells it.
How early in life, how young do you start the children in the entrepreneurial mindset?
So our program officially starts at 6 years old, but my oldest daughter started her first business at 4.5, and my second daughter was 3 years and 11 months when she started her first business.
They actually started a business at that age?
So they were making products and selling them at market.
Oh my goodness. And so that's a trait that you saw early on in their life that you can, or did you feel that you developed this trait in them?
Everybody can develop this trait. So going back a little bit, before COVID, I ran an in-home childcare and I really loved it. And it just so happened that I had a group of only 3-year-old girls that were enrolled at one point. And I was teaching engineering curriculum to 3-year-old girls, and it was amazing. But then we found 10 years worth of black mold in the walls of the house I had only owned for 18 months. So we had to move into a hotel while our house was pretty much demolished and rebuilt. And you can't run an in-home daycare from a hotel. When I decided, finally, I got my house back, we were ready to reopen our daycare. I scheduled our grand reopening for March 17th, 2020. At the time, we were in Los Angeles County, and that was the exact day they issued the stay-at-home mandate. And nobody came to my grand reopening, and nobody came to round 2 of our grand reopening. And within 2 weeks, the city that we lived in had opened a free for essential workers childcare facility that you could walk to from my house. We were well and truly put out of business by the beginning of April and had to figure out something else to do. So my husband and I decided to start a financial coaching company. And while I was home with my 1.5-year-old and 4-year-old, I watched business training videos on our living room TV so I could supervise the kids while I was learning. And it was only about 3 weeks into that when my 4-year-old came up to me and said, "Mommy, I want to start a business too." And like any reasonable parent with a 4-year-old child, I said, "No way, you're 4. You can't start a business." And she, like you will know any 4-year-olds to do, responded quickly with, "Why?" And in that moment, I realized I did not have any good answer for why she couldn't start a business. I mean, I had never seen it done before, but how many things were happening in 2020 that we had never seen happen before? So I was like, "Okay, fine. What are you going to sell?" And she told me, "Well, I make those paintings where I pour the paint. I can sell those." I said, "How are you going to do it?" And she said, "You sell things on Facebook. Can't I just use Facebook like you do?" "Well, yes and no. I have to manage it for you, but we can make you a Facebook page." "Okay, Mommy, I want to sell my paintings." So we talked about setting prices. We talked about her supplies. We talked about budgeting and spending, saving, and giving her money. And she launched Melody Paints at 4.5 years old, selling custom drip art through a Google order form. It was amazing. And over the last 6 years of watching her build now her 3rd business, it's been amazing to see what confidence she never lost. Because we all know that our little 3-year-olds are more confident than the day is long. And by 8 or 9, they're not anymore. Seeing the way she's willing to talk to anybody because she knows she could sell a product, and seeing the skills that a child has that we've been able to protect, and the skills that children don't have that we've been able to build using her business as a vessel has been amazing.
I wanted to ask, do you do the neurodiverse children?
So my second daughter is diagnosed ADHD and autistic, and my oldest daughter is ADHD. I am also ADHD and autistic. So yes, we work with a lot of neurodiverse families and neurodivergent groups just because that's just where we are, and this program will work for anybody.
Wow. Now you really have my attention. Leah, our 19-year-old granddaughter is, our perception, high spectrum autistic. She is not capable yet of living independently, but she clearly has talents. It's just a matter, from our perspective, to identify, we call it her sweet spot. and help her. She has culinary skills. And so um, as I'm speaking with you, Leah, I would have never guessed you're self-professed neurodiverse, and our granddaughter is very conversive, very social, but her social battery may run out after 2 or 3 hours or so. She is very much an open book. I mean, whatever comes to mind, she'll speak. Nothing terrible, gross. It's, you know, after having made some statements, you think, well, maybe it would have been better if you'd not said that. But she could okay, yes, I think it was yesterday or day before, just very briefly, she made we said, well, what are you doing right now? And spontaneously, she said, well, Papa, we are in Florida. We're on the beaches looking for hot men. And she can be that kind of so witty, humorous. It's just spontaneous. But Leah, I'm going through all that background to say that we have we're very compassionate toward neurodiverse people. I want to find employers who are willing to work with, and I call it adapt to, neurodiverse people because they have some very special talents.
I want to say that our daughter and son-in-law are doing a program with another person that is a therapist for neurodiverse children. And they are going to have a 1 hour sale with other neurodiverse children, and they're going to be baking things, and so she's going to get into her culinary. So they are trying to see where her sweet spot is, what she can do and what she would be comfortable with. But this is amazing what you do. I mean, it's great.
It's so much fun. And the kids that I work with, it's amazing to be able to sit down with them and identify with them what their business ideas might be and how they can turn those into making money. So I teach, one of the most basic things we teach is that entrepreneurship is finding a problem, figuring out how you can solve that problem, and then monetizing your solution. That's it. And you can repeat it as many times as you want. But as long as you're doing those 3 things, you're building a business. And so for your granddaughter, maybe what she's solving is people at the park are hungry and she can provide snacks for them there. And at the park, you do a pop-up stand or a cart, and you work for an hour or 2, maybe 3, right during the rush, during lunch, or right after people get out of school, and then you go home again.
Mm-hmm.
How do you determine a person's skill set, what they're particularly good at? Do you have let's say, an automated process? Can you discern that through talking with them? How do you go about that?
I literally sit down and talk to them. So I talk to the kids and I ask them, what do they like doing? What are they good at? I talk to their parents about what do they do when they're supposed to be doing chores, because those are the things that they really love. And then I sit down and we start talking about problem solving, and we talk about problem spotting and how to find what you want to fix in the world. And then how do you take the things that you're good at and the problems that you've identified so that you can use those to create a business.
Now, I'm curious, Leah, as you engage a neurodiverse person, I can envision they may say something to the effect, well, I don't know. You're asking me questions that I don't know. And ADHD, they may have an attention span of, who knows, 15, 20 minutes. And now I need to get on my device kind of thing. So how do you work through that?
So the biggest thing with I don't know is, okay, how do you think it'll work?
Okay.
What have you tried so far? What do you think would happen if we tried it that way? I ask a lot of questions, because one thing that will keep just about anybody's attention is talking about themselves. And so if you can keep pushing it back to what do you want to do? How do you want to see it work? What would you like to see changed? They have opinions and they have thoughts that they just haven't been given the opportunity to talk about yet. So once you give them that opportunity, they're really excited to open up and share what's going on in their minds. The other thing is when we do our monthly meetings, We call them a Sochi circle, and I only do about 20 minutes of instruction in a 2-hour meeting. So I do about 20 minutes of instruction, and then the rest of that hour and 40 minutes is open discussions, communicating how do we think this would work in different situations, and eating, because we don't ever have a meeting without food.
Now, do you deal, not exclusively, but would you say predominant, are the largest percentage of your entrepreneurs neurodiverse?
No, I think we're probably pretty fit to what the national numbers are, probably around 30%, which it's really not 30%. It's like 1 in 30, which is only like 3%.
Right.
We're probably a little bit more than that. We're probably closer to like 30%, 3 out of every 10, but not amazingly an extreme that most of our kiddos are neurodivergent.
All right. Do you have these discussions in mixed groups? And what I'm alluding to is, okay, the neurotypical, neurodiverse, you don't separate them.
Nope. Everybody sits at the same table.
Great.
Now, do you do virtual?
So we do not do virtual classes. We do, however, have something called the Sochi Circle, which is an online community. And in that community, there are discussion boards and weekly challenges and lesson plans that people can get so that they can teach it in their own group. One thing I will tell you about educating children is that it just doesn't go well virtually, because they need to have, part of being able to teach children well is being able to feel how they're feeling. And that empathy requires a little bit of being in the same space. And so it doesn't translate well to an asynchronous online program or even a synchronous online program. It really is something where I need to be able to sit and look them eye to eye and discuss with them. However, someday I can see us being able to develop more programming.
No, I think that's great. So the majority of your clients are in and around Kansas, that's Kansas City area, because of what you just said. You can work with them best in person rather than virtually.
Right. Well, and part of what we're hoping to be able to do in the next 3 to 5 years is train some other providers so that they can come work with me for a few days, a week or two, learn what I'm doing, and then take that back to where they live and apply it in new places.
All right. Good. Yeah, that's great. Now, for those of us who are, let's just say, learning neurodiversity, learning to adapt to, and I'm quite honestly, I'm focusing on our 19-year-old granddaughter. But as we work with neurodiverse people and ADHD and so forth, is it a matter of just being socially conversive with them to where you can pick up on different things, or is it more skilled than that?
I really think it is just getting down and talking to another human being and not looking at diagnoses and abbreviations or anything else, but just simply looking at them person to person and saying, like, what do you care about and what do you want to see change in the world and how do you want to make that happen?
Now, Angelina will say to me, she'll get online and she'll get on a video where someone is cooking meat, and she loves to smoke meat. And she'll say, this is the spices they're using. So I need to know how to see if that's a sweet spot for her and ask her questions like you're asking questions.
Right. Where could you see yourself doing this? What would you do differently in that recipe? Have you ever thought about trying to sell something like that? Where would you sell it if you were going to sell it? What would you need before you could get started? If your goal was to get to a point where you could sell it out of a snack cart at the park, what would need to happen to make that goal a reality? And ask questions and wait for responses. And if you get an, I don't know, this is too hard. Okay, cool. What if we take it a step back? If we know we want this and we know we have this, what are we missing? Okay, well, now this is a puzzle. We can put together that puzzle. Okay, now that we've put together that puzzle, you know what you need. Where are you going to get it?
Our granddaughter, when we attempt to talk with her in the way you're referring, will somewhat typically say, I just don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah,
And she likes to be alone on a device, iPad and so forth. I'm guessing that's somewhat typical, Leah, and I'm asking the question, if it is, how do you overcome well, I don't want to talk about this anymore?
fantastic. You know what? One, I am so proud of them for being able to name their limits, because it would be a whole lot easier for a child to have a meltdown than say, no, I'm done here. So that's an amazing ability for her to identify her limits and say, I need to have a break from this. And two, respect. Cool. Let's have a break. When do you want to come back to this? Can we come back to this? Is this something you'd want to talk about later next week? Do you want to talk about it in a month? And getting them, is this something you care about at all? Or should we should we put this to bed and try something new?
Okay.
Now she will talk to me when we're in the car. She's usually looking at the spices and all that, and we will talk about it. But when she gets home, it wouldn't be okay. I'm ready to sit down and talk to you about what we just talked about.
Right. So, and it can be something as simple as, okay, let's say we're going to spend 15 minutes today talking about what you want to do and if you would like to have a food business of some type. And then at the end of that 15 minutes, you say, okay, we've used our 15 minutes for today. We'll talk about it again later. Because letting her know an expectation of what the routine is going to be is going to make things easier for her. If you tell her, and it's the same with my husband, he does this to me. All right, sit down. We need to talk about the budget. Oh my God, I don't want to talk about every dollar that's in every account and every bill that's due and what's going on in our 401ks. And I don't need to know our net worth this week. That's too much. It's too overwhelming. It's too many problems, too many questions, too many concerns, and that is just too much to process. However, if he comes to me and he says, hey, I need 15 minutes so we can figure out what bills are due in the next 2 weeks. Cool. I can sit down for 15 minutes and look at what bills are due in the next 2 weeks. I don't need to look at our net worth. I don't need to look at what the balance is in every bank account. I just need to look at the calendar and figure out which bills are due in the next 2 weeks. So breaking it down and saying, okay, the first step to starting a business is identifying what you want to do, where you want to do it, and how you want to do it. So let's take 15 minutes today and think about where you would have a business if you were going to have a business. What kind of business would you have in that space? Okay, next week we do 15 more minutes and we talk about how do we want to start a business in that space? Do we still like the idea we came up with last week? Do we want to change something? At what point are we not allowed to make changes anymore and we have to follow this path? Is this something that once we start, we have to finish, or are we allowed to say this is too much? And doing things at her pace and not yours.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's very good. And what I'm sensing from what you're saying, Leah, is with every conversation we have, we need to demonstrate that we care and we're adjusting to the person with whom we're speaking that, yep, that there may be a limit to the amount of time they want to spend and so forth. I'm going through that to ask you, our granddaughter works nominally 4 hours a week. She has worked maybe 12, 16 hours a week, but we're certainly not up to 40 hours a week. And she works in a bistro where she mixes coffee drinks and so forth. And she enjoys doing that. And so we're hoping with age, with time, I suppose, that she'll want to increase the number of hours that she will work and so forth. But is it your perception that maybe some neurodiverse people just don't want to work 40 hours, the traditional 40 hours a week kind of thing? Or is it a matter of building up to it? And it's a very open-ended question because I'm trying to learn. I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture, where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, And by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level to where we soar together. Let's work together.
I'll be completely honest with you. Regardless of if you're neurodivergent or not, nobody wants to work 40 hours a week. None of us like it. We all want to have more fun. We all want to do more free time. And I think it is just simply explaining what the goal is rather than what the expectation is, because that's what works with every human being. It's the same reason why donkeys get carrots dangled in front of them when we want them to go forward. The goal is get that carrot. So talking about what is the goal? Is she going to work to earn money because it's important for her to have a job because somebody said grown-ups go to work? Or is it important for her to go to work so that she can earn money so that she can pay her own way on a vacation, or so that she can go visit a friend or take herself out to dinner? What is the reason why she's going to work? Which that can come in to just about any human being is, why am I doing this? I don't want to do it just because. What do I get out of this? It's the same reason in sales. What's in it for me? So if I go to work, they get my labor, I get a few dollars. What do I need those dollars for? I live at home, right? So then explaining to her, what is your goal with your money? And how does going to work 4 hours versus 8 hours or 16 hours get you closer or further from that goal?
And at times we engage in conversation where she will say she wants to be independent, but yet you don't have the cognitive skills to know how to manage your money. And too frequently, a little bit of money on the pocket, well, I need to spend it, and so forth. And are you thinking ahead X number of days, months, years, and so forth? And Leah, my perception is not yet. We're trying to develop that cognitive ability with her, maybe at too fast a pace, and I'm expressing myself, just trying to learn how to adjust and adapt.
Well, one, you said she's 19, and remember, everybody's human brain does not quit developing their full decision-making processes until they're 25 or 26. So she still has 6 or 7 years before she has a really grown-up brain. Like, she just doesn't have the fully developed adult brain yet to understand those long-term decision-making consequences. Secondly, start creating habits around her money to make it easier for her to understand saving it. So maybe you say every time you get paid, you have to spend some, save some, and give some. And whatever your spending money is, nobody's allowed to judge what you spend it on or how quickly you spend it. That is your money to do with whatever you want. But your savings money can't get touched, which means if your spending money is gone, you're done. And your giving money has to be for the benefit of somebody, not yourself.
Are you describing the way you raise your children, your neurodiverse children? I'm supposing you are.
Absolutely. My daughters have, actually, we just put my oldest daughter on payroll at my company on top of the fact that they both have their own businesses. And anytime they have money, they have to have their spending, they have to do short-term and long-term saving, and then they have to do giving. And if it's a gift that was given to them for like birthday money or Christmas money, they are not required to put that money in giving, but they still have to divide it in between long-term, short-term saving and spending, because I want them thinking about the fact that their money is finite. So if they want things in the future, they have to plan for it now. But I also want them to understand that the money is a tool to get the things you want. And so if you have that wrench handy and that bolt needs to come out, well, then you're allowed to use that tool as long as it's available. But once it's not available anymore, you can't go take your neighbor's wrench to get your bolt out.
So do you have your children develop a budget, personal budget, and stay within that kind of thing?
Very, very loosely. I do not make them, I mean, the definition of a budget is a written plan for where you want to put your money. And I do not make them write out their budget, but I do make them think about what money they're putting into each of their envelopes. And they have cash envelopes. And so I sit with them and say, how much money are you putting in spending? How much money is going in savings? How much money is going in giving? Okay, your long-term saving money, that's going to go into your bank account. Go ahead and give that to me so that I can transfer the money to your bank account. And they know that mom is going to ask them, if you got $20, how much of it did you save and how much of it did you give before you filled the spend envelope? And they know that if they don't do all of the envelopes, mom is going to come and help them move money so that they've met all their needs.
Right there, I think is a very important principle that for me, what you just described is accountability. But then, while it's not a traditional budget per se, but you talked about envelopes. I mean, literally money in different envelopes labeled whatever they are.
Yep. My oldest outgrew the first one I made her. It has unicorns and she's 10 now. And she's like, Mom, preteens do not take unicorns to middle school. So we had to switch away from the unicorns and do something else. But she literally had this little binder with plastic envelopes.
Oh,
Save
wow. Yep.
short term, give to others, spend for today, and save for the long term. And she would unzip it, put the money in there, and then about once a month, I would go in and take that save for the long-term cash, take the cash and transfer that money into her bank account so that it's all in her savings account. And that money is for college and her first car. And she knows that that's her money for the future. And she gets her bank statements and she reads them every month. She is mad about them. She's always like, I wish there was more in here. And why do they have to mail these every month? Because it's a lot of wasted paper, but she still reads her bank statement every month.
Wow.
That's good. I do know that Tony and Joanne, our daughter and son-in-law, she has a bank account and she's allowed to spend some of that money. So as grandparents, we've got to be careful what we say. And so I do know that they're working with her on her money. And she tells me, I have this much in my bank account. I know how much I have. And she's proud that she's got that much.
Yeah.
So it is working. But like you said, they're not mature enough until maybe 26.
Yeah.
So it's a process. And it's a process of where we have to learn 15 minutes of a subject and then you go do what you want to do.
Yep. And with any child, when you're educating them, regardless of age, I mean, honestly, even if you're educating a 50-year-old child, the more you can do it where you can be hands-on and you can read or listen and then do it, those tactile moments are going to stick better.
Mm-hmm.
And your principle, and I'm gonna suppose, but I want to phrase this as a question. If your income from a job is, let's just pick a number, it's $100. I'm going to guess you put some percentage of that into the bank account. In other words, out of sight, out of mind, you can't spend it. But then the rest of it would be cash that you put into the individual envelopes. Is that the basic principle you use?
Nope, I take their $100, I give them all $100 and they have to budget every penny of it. One of the things I teach is autonomy. And if it's their money, I don't get to decide before they do where their money goes, which means they get every bit of it and they have to make their budget for where it's going to go. But they know that they have to go in all 4 envelopes. So it might be 10 to giving because they want to keep some of it. It might be 30 to spending, and it might be 30 to their long-term savings and 40 to their short-term savings because they're saving for a computer or a Nintendo or something that's going to be a big budget item. But they know that as long as they have money in all 4 envelopes, they're doing what mom said. And they set their goals for how much money they want in each of those envelopes, which means when they're adults, we don't have to worry about how their boss sets up their bank account because they'll know how to handle their money. And they're not going to be calling me at 30 and saying, oh, mom, there's no money in my savings because my boss didn't automatically withdraw my savings for me.
Okay, so let's just say there's an envelope that we're saving for a computer. After there's and your daughter or your children put money in there, and I'm supposing that, let's just say that they're up to $20 in that, and I'm going to suppose, and this is a question, they would put that money into a bank account somewhere that's out of sight, out of mind. In other words, we're not going to continue to add to this pocket of money to where we have several $100s in it, or I'm just supposing at some point you train them to put money that you long-term savings, you put that into an account. It's out of sight, out of mind, so to speak. I don't want to suppose that's what you do, Leah, but I'm asking that in the form of a question.
Right. So that is, yes, their spending money always stays cash. Their giving money always stays cash. Their saving money for short-term savings, they can decide based on what they're saving for, if they want to keep it in cash or if they want me to put it into their checking account to wait for them. But their long-term savings always goes to their savings account. That money always goes directly out of their wallet and into their bank accounts. But they have the cash first. So I give them the cash, they put it where they want it. And then if it's going to the bank, they give me the cash back and I make that bank deposit for them. That way they still had to touch it and feel it and understand that it was going.
I'm curious, how long are nominally, how long are the children in your program? Do they graduate, or do you have an age maximum, or how do you operate your program?
So it's an annual membership. So they pay once a year and they have meetings throughout that course of the year. We go up to 17 years old. So once they turn 18, they have either aged out of the program or left the program to get a real job, whatever that may be. But traditionally, most of our kiddos are between 8 and 14, and they hang out until their schedule gets too busy, because you know what extracurricular programs look like, or they stay until they age out because they are really learning a lot in this program and developing their businesses.
Do you track the children once they've graduated to determine did everything work, or did they have a relapse, anything like that?
We will, but right now our organization is only a year and a half. So we haven't had anybody that's really aged out and moved on with their lives yet. They're all still in it with me.
Oh, thank you. I had no idea how long you had
Yep.
been in your business, a year and a half. But gosh, Leah, this is exactly what the younger children, well, all of us need. I will say that, well, Marty and I have much more life experience than you do, but I will say that we have practiced all of the principles I'm supposing you teach. We were each raised on a farm, and we were always taught from the earliest we can remember that no matter how much you make, you always invest, save, and so forth. And those are the principles that we have lived on, and we're at a point where we are choosing to do what we choose to do. We have that choice, and that's one of the things we always tell people. If you live a financially disciplined life, you will have the choice to do what you want to do when you want to make that choice. Marty, what do you think?
I want to say your envelopes bring back a memory. When I first started working, my first full-time job, this was many years ago. I had an envelope and I had to put money in for groceries. I had to put money in for rent, and I had to leave that envelope alone because if I spent any of the other, it was bad. But so it was so disciplined, but it just brought back a memory, your envelopes, of what I had to do, because I wasn't living at home anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And it is, once you've built that discipline, it becomes easier to do, where you don't need an envelope to tell you what your budget is anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. This is amazing.
Well, Leah, Marty, and I applaud what you are doing. We just thank you for everything that you are doing. For those who would like to learn more about your business, who may or may not be in the Kansas area, how would people contact you?
So the best thing to do is you can go to our website. It's SOCEICT.org, and that'll give you all the options of all the things we're doing. And from there, you can join the Sochi Circle. And the Sochi Circle is a free online location where you can talk to other people who are in child entrepreneurship. You can talk to parents who are trying to figure out how to raise their kids. You can talk to the children, can talk to each other about what they're doing in their businesses, and it's all heavily moderated. And then once a week, I post a family challenge of a 30 to 45-minute activity you can do at home to practice your child's financial literacy, leadership, or entrepreneurial skills.
Well, Leah, again,
Yes.
thank you so much for everything you're doing, your outreach, and Marty and I will do everything we can to promote you in the very basic concept of, yes, we've got to live a financially disciplined life. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
I thank you too, and I hope you can find other people in other states that will do for the neurodiverse child that you are doing right now. I hope it grows.
Yes.
We pray it grows.
Well, thank you so much.
Mhm.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, MARTY, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.